Hey everyone, welcome to the tech capital of the world. I'm Bobby Dave, CEO and founder of Foundry, Kevin, and we're living in an AI world right now.
Oh, is Skynet here?
Skynet is here.
This is it.
It's
This is the
over.
latest version. One we
I
talked
think
about before wasn't good enough.
I'm just gonna quit coding now. Just use ChatGPT exclusively.
For everything.
Everything.
Yeah. We're going to talk about some of the stuff you can use it for, some of the stuff that it doesn't work for, because surprise, surprise,
It doesn't really work.
But
yeah. So here's I will preface what I do say about this stuff. It's like it is impressive. Okay.
Yeah.
It's impressive, but when you say it's going to replace developers, that is a high bar. So like literally if you had to like replace developers with this, so I'm sure there's some like CEO out there is going to get a startup and he's just going to code it completely with ChatGPT because he don't want to pay developers.
Yeah.
His app's not going to work. It's never going to work. It's never going to be fixed.
He's going to think it's going to work. This is one of the things that we'll talk about later. But he's going to think it's going to work, but it's not.
It's not going to work, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we talked about this a lot, and I have some very philosophical things about this, you know, and I'm trying to figure out, like, I think a lot of the press is coming from uneducated people. Like, in other words, like,
some people who aren't coders, right? Or haven't done this for a minute. And it looks, at first glance, it looks very impressive.
Super impressive.
And we'll show some examples. We're going to use some.
Yeah. So here's my thing that I think, and if you've been coding for enough and you're out there and you're listening, you're like, yeah, I've been on a dev team, you know exactly the person I'm about to talk about. And we write about it in the book, which is Grumpy Coder Guy. And so Grumpy Coder Guy will take explicit instructions from the sales manager or the product manager or the PM, even the CEO, because he hates the CEO, he hates the product manager, he hates the dev team, he hates the sales team. And therefore he takes explicit instructions from them and does exactly what they say.
Yep. And not a thing more.
Nothing more, nothing less.
There's no interpretation. It's just exactly as stated or written or whatever it is.
Yeah. And so you'll get comments from, you're the boss, or this is your funeral, or like, you know, like, in other words, like he's not going to put his input into this or add any value to this whatsoever. He's just going to take the request and then churn it out. And then the dev guy or the project manager says, well, that's not what I wanted. I mean, that's not what he says, well, that's what you said you wanted, you know? And so he does. And so I think ChatGPT is the evolution of Grumpy Coder Guy. Like it's going to do exactly
what in terms of that. Yeah. It's going to do exactly what you tell it to. Yeah.
It's like, you know, it doesn't, it also, the other thing that I think is misunderstood, which is I think the scary part of ChatGPT, and this is like AIs in general, is they're completely confident in what they're doing. Like it's like it comes across like
scary, confident. And that was going to be one of my points actually about like when it produces an answer, it doesn't second guess its answer at all. Like it doesn't say, it doesn't even give you like, let's say that you ask it for something and there could be 10 possible answers. It'll give you one in confidence that that is the answer.
The answer.
It is always exactly. It comes down to like,
at least
very, very
if you go to Stack Overflow, you might get like 10 or 12 in a search result. Google may give you a search result. You may even go to the second page on a search result because you can scan through and no, that's not what I'm quite looking for.
Yep.
This one gives you an answer. Speaking
of Stack Overflow, real quick, just to cut to this, Stack Overflow banned the ChatGPT answers for reasons that we're kind of talking about here. It's because, here you go, what was their actual quote here? So they call it substantially harmful, and it's because its amount of answers incorrect were too high for their kind of threshold, I guess. It made too many mistakes, but it was confident in its mistakes.
It's confident in its mistakes. The problem with coding in general is mostly working is broken. And there's very little,
it can't be a little bit broken, can it? A little bit broken is broken.
I mean, it's just broken. I mean, you know, and it doesn't matter like if you coded it 90% correct or 95% correct. And then like in some realms, in some areas, that's okay. You know, like, hey, as long as I'm 95%, as long as I'm close, I'm good. In coding, you have to be exact. It has to be.
One of them, is it?
It's not. The second thing that I think that that it lacks is what I'm going to call a word called discernment, which is discernment is you're meeting with a good developer. Let's talk about like the good developer that works with the staff that doesn't innately hate the sales staff for whatever reason.
Right.
You know, but like so they have a good working relationship. The question comes in, the request comes in, and the good developer goes, I hear what you're saying, but, and then brings up the cases why their thing needs to be modified. And that's when you have a healthy team where the developer has input into what they're doing. And it's listening to the request, realize that the request isn't like, maybe it's not 100% accurate, or maybe it lacks some nuance or whatever, but ChatGPT can't do that. It can't like discern what you're saying. You know, it's like, I hear what you're saying. That's not what you want. I'm telling you, my experience, my things, I'm leading into this. I'm telling you, that's not exactly how we want it to work. So I worked at a company, well, you know, in a long time ago, and I shouldn't bring this up, but I was asked one time to make a button on a page. Okay. And the button on the page had a specific function. Well, the product team came back and says, you want an American flag on that button. I'm like, well, why do we want to put American flag on that button? Like, you know, like what's the point? And what we were looking up was how do I say this without saying exactly who I was working for? But like we were looking up things that were loosely related to the U.S. Treasury.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And so they said the Treasury button had to like have an American flag on it because the American flag represents the Treasury. And I remember telling them like, well, no, the American flag represents America. Like nobody's looking at this and go, oh, that's the Treasury button. Right. You know, like, you know, so I can remember being overridden, you know, and I'm sitting there telling them what to do. It's like, hey, no, I'm not going to do that. I remember even the first release, I refused to put it on it because I thought it was dumb, you know. But then I got overridden in some meeting and says, you put that flag on that button. I did. And then we had users come back and go, what's the flag button?
That's funny. Hold on. Is the flag still on the button today, or did they eventually take it off?
I don't know. I'd have to go look. But like, you know, like, you know,
it's probably still there.
They lacked self-awareness when it came back. They're like, well, you know, it's the Treasury button. So, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I thought it was kind of funny. But discernment is something that like an AI will always lack. It won't be able to discern what you're saying. A lot of times, and people look at this when they type in something in, they're like, oh, it's discerning my question. It's breaking it apart and it gave me an answer based on a loose description. And it's really not doing that. It's a really good magic trick, you know?
Right.
I put it this way, like, let's say that we went to Vegas and we went to the end of the strip, or maybe 3 blocks off the strip. And we saw
go a little bit.
Get off the strip a little bit and you guys see a magician, and we're not magicians, and we could be amazed by they're doing that. But Penn and Teller goes in and looks at that and they're like, man, he's a third-rate hack. Like that.
Right.
That is just
not
wrong
impressing the
doing.
Professional.
No, it's not at all.
Okay.
And like coding's the same way. Like, you know, when you look at some of the code that it generates, it's like, that's just wrong, you know?
Right.
Now, I was reading Twitter before I came here, and I do not want to out this person on Twitter, but this person supposedly interviews people for a living.
Okay.
Great. And he goes, ChatGPT is going to break the interview process. Here's my 3 questions that I always ask. And he puts the question in there, and I phrased it, and now it solved it in 3 seconds. Okay. So the first one was reverse a string. And it was like, okay, reverse a string. And he said, see, it solved it. And I asked for junior developers. On the second one, he said, I give this 2D array, and he had this elaborate thing, and he said, see how it solved it in 3 seconds. And he went on through his thread. Then the comments started coming on. Did you notice that the answer that it gave for your question 2 was wrong?
I guess no, because it was confident.
You didn't notice.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was
right.
kind of crazy.
Some of the things that we ran through it yesterday when we were talking about this were wrong. It had an incorrect statement. We asked it to write about in JavaScript, and we'll do this again today. We'll try this again here in a second. I asked it to write me an article about the differences between let and var in JavaScript, and it got part of the definition wrong. It literally explained it incorrectly, but it was very convincing in the way that it did it.
Yeah.
It basically
didn't know
said
what const was.
It didn't know what const was, and it basically told me that that what did it do? It said that when you declare a variable with a let, you can reassign it, but with a var you can't.
Yeah,
is what it was saying, and it was like,
right.
well, that's just not true. But it was convincing in its answer. It basically stated that as fact, and I was like, well, as I'm reading through it, I'm like, well, that's just wrong. So we'll see if it does it today, because each time you put these prompts into it, it gives you a different answer. That's the other thing it does too. It's not consistent.
So I feel like if you're playing poker with ChatGPT, I can't say that, and you're holding a full house and you lay a full house down, the ChatGPT say, 2 pair, baby, read them and weep. You lose.
Yeah, exactly. You lose. It starts taking the money. 100%.
No, wait a second. You didn't win. Yes, I did. 2 pair, baby.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It is just like that. It is just like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's talk about a couple things here first. I just want to say, Jason here had something funny to say. He says, you got to respect the confidence. He said, give me the confidence of ChatGPT. Maybe there's a meme in there somewhere. There's a confidence in ChatGPT meme in there somewhere.
Yeah, ChatGPT is fake it till you make it. I mean, like, it's literally that guy. It's gonna tell you.
Definitely. Here's something we talked about this morning. Bexco said, I was behind this semester at school, and ChatGPT saved me in my financial aid for next semester. Solved my homework in the same amount of time it takes to sneeze. We literally talked about this morning because we're like, man, does it break education?
There's a YouTube video in there, man. So
I think it might break some forms of education. I think genuinely it might, because if you have to, again, we'll do some examples here in a minute, but we can produce a 1,000-word essay on Socrates like that, and it's actually pretty good.
We hope. Well, we don't know enough about Socrates.
We don't know enough. But I'm talking about without fact checking it. Without fact checking it, it looked pretty good. Whether it's you're true. I don't know enough about it to know whether it's actually 100% true or not. But here's another post about its confidence too. So Tuxman said, I tried to ask ChatGPT to create an SVG shape out of the outline of the Mona Lisa. It gave me 2 rounded cornered rectangles, proudly saying, "Here is your SVG shape of the Mona Lisa." Again, it brings up the same point, right? It's making a statement, just saying like, "Hey, there you go."
Yeah.
He's
literally saying, so you say there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. That's ChatGPT. Doesn't take no for an answer.
Does not take no for an answer. Exactly.
Yep. That's a great Mona Lisa.
So I think that's the reason. Yes. Is it? Yes, it is. Yeah, you would say yes, it is. 100% it would. Yeah. It's better than the original. So the fact that, Stack Overflow banning it is a thing they recognize. Didn't take them long to realize. A couple of days in, they're like, hey, we're getting a lot of these things post up here, and if we start fact checking them, they're not entirely correct. And this is something that they actually say. This is not something that ChatGPT is trying to hide. OpenAI isn't hiding the fact that the tool is going to be wrong. It literally says one of the issues with the tool is that it will make incorrect assumptions.
Right.
So
exactly.
They understand this. It's just the user also has to understand this. You have to understand this going in, so just know that that's the case. Okay, should we look at some examples? Should we look at the tool?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, here's one thing though. Here's one thing I did. Here's one thing I did use it for, and here's one thing that I think it's great for. The title of this video today: ChatGPT.
That's it, man. We generated with ChatGPT. Now we tried to get it to generate the thumbnail.
We did. I tried to use DALL-E 2 to create the thumbnail, okay? Yeah. And I fed it in, give me a YouTube thumbnail with the title of the video, right? And this is what it came up with. This is actually the best example it came up with.
Oh, that's nice right there. What is that?
Right? I don't know.
Not the
I don't know. Not the
chaparting.
I gave it the title of the video and told it to create me a YouTube thumbnail, and this is what it came up with. So there's a computer down here and a desk.
Came back in Klingon is what it did, man.
Exactly. Maybe I should have specified in English. I didn't know I had to specify that. I thought that was going to be enough. So yeah, the DALL-E 2, when it's doing thumbnails, isn't quite there yet. So you can't create thumbnails from it, because I thought, it'd be a good idea. Let's just have the AI create the thumbnail and the title. Title was okay, thumbnail not so much.
Right.
Thumbnail not so much. I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, this is anybody who hasn't used this is open, by the way. You can go use this. It's open at chat.openapi.com. So it's it's basically an AI that's been trained on information up until 2021. It says limited knowledge of world events after 2021. So if you ask it for something after 21, it might not necessarily know that. It's been trained on a data set that's pre that. So just bear that in mind. So the first thing I'll notice, like, it doesn't do very well at, like, answering questions about opinions. It doesn't do very well at, because it's saying, like, hey, I'm a non-opinionated chat. Right? That's what it tries to do. So if I ask it, like, what's the world's best song, right? I tried to get it to answer this earlier based on just opinion, and it actually won't do this. It'll just say that it's an opinion and I don't have one, basically. It's personal preference.
I think this is part of OpenAI. I think it does have some rules of governance, like what it's not going to do.
Yes, because it's about opinions, right?
Here's the scary part of this. That the training is what's bringing into the results out there like that. And people rely on GPT for their general knowledge. The trainers can dictate knowledge, and I think that's scary. Truth can be changed, and I'm getting very philosophical at this point. But like, if you're relying on these systems to tell you what's happening, then and you lack discernment, which I'm saying that it doesn't have, then your view of the world can be shifted by people that are training the AI to tell you what's true. And I think that's a scary thing with AI.
So this thing is saying, I think one of their things is they're not going to do that. Yeah, they're not saying that. They're saying then we don't have an opinion. It says it is a matter of personal opinion. So they're actually, and I couldn't, no matter what I put in here, I couldn't get it to answer. I was like, so what about like what people think? And it gave me a similar answer. So it's like similar kind of thing. So it won't do that. But what it will do is if I say, we'll get to the code stuff in a second, but if I say write 5 tweets about C# that are funny, let's try that.
Okay, let's see what it does.
Let's see if it's actually funny. Okay, so it's writing the tweets. First one says, just realized C# is actually just a sharp version of C. No wonder it cuts through my code so easily.
Bada boom boom. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I asked for funny.
Okay, yeah.
C# has been my go-to language for years, but I heard Java has a softer, gentler sound. Maybe I'll give it a try and see if it soothes my soul.
Okay, number one was definitely better than that one.
Bad. Is that even? Would that be considered funny to anybody? I don't think so.
I don't know. Is anyone laughing?
Is it? I don't think it is. Why does C# have so many angles? It's like the language was designed by a geometry teacher. I don't even get that. Am I missing something there? Is that an actual?
No.
Am I missing a? Okay. Okay.
No,
C# might not be as funny as some other programming languages, but at least it's not named after a fruit.
It might be as cool, but it's not named after a fruit. Okay, there's Rust, which isn't a fruit. JavaScript's not a fruit.
Hold on, is there a fruit programming language that again
I'm
not aware of?
Python's not a fruit. That's a snake.
Okay, doesn't work. Doesn't work. If you can't remember off the top of your head, it just doesn't work. Does it? C# may not be the most popular language, but it is the sharpest tool in my programmer's toolbox. I mean,
okay.
So the word
it's using the word sharp there. I got you.
I use the word sharp here and the word sharp here. So
it's a terrible. This guy wouldn't make it in the stand-up.
Would I use any of these tweets? No.
He's not making enough in the stand-up world.
But it might point you in the right direction. So this brings me back to like one of my things about this, and my overall feeling about this is that it's just a tool.
Yeah,
it's just a tool to give you ideas. It doesn't even necessarily have to give you the answer. This might have like this one here. I might be like, oh, okay, I kind of like what it's saying there. Maybe I rewrite it, right? Maybe there's a different version of that I can write that's like slightly better than the version that we put up here. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like this could kind of work. Maybe not very funny though. But
no, it's not very funny.
Maybe it doesn't understand funny. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it needs to have some comedians to come in and train it up a little bit. You know,
maybe.
Write some good jokes.
Yeah, maybe. But it's good for things like this. I'm talking about like if you want it to write. So let's have it write. This is the part that comes back to the school part. Let's do a 1,000-word essay on, because I tried this already and this worked very well. Write a 1,000-word essay on Socrates, and then after this, once it writes this, which look, it writes this really quick, by the way. You can ask it to like change this up too. I thought about something like, okay, so this might be like, maybe this is like written at a college level, right? But what if I'm in 5th grade and I'm like, I probably wouldn't come up with the same level of detail, right? Because I did actually read through one of these and it was actually pretty good, and it like and this is different than the one I asked for earlier. By the way.
Yeah, it does change it up.
It does change it ever so slightly. Although I will say, I noticed the first 2 lines are the same, written with different language. So we'll talk about that it was a philosopher in Western philosophy, and when they were born and where they were born. So this this always says that it was born in Athens. Sometimes it says Athens, Greece. Sometimes it says the actual year that he was born. Sometimes it'll say a date range for born. Sometimes it'll say the century he was born. So, could you cheat with this? Maybe. Maybe. But I've also got to say that if you're college professor, he's going to see a bunch of these come in this same format. You're going to start noticing them, I think. I think it's not smart enough to give it to me. But what if I say rewrite this as a 5th grader?
Now, here's the part where it keeps up context, so it knows the previous one.
Exactly.
That's kind of cool.
So I don't have to tell it to rewrite what. It knows I'm rewriting a 1,000-word essay about Socrates. So it says now I'm writing as a 5th grader. And look at the language it used while it's writing that. Socrates was a famous philosopher who lived a long time ago in Greece. So it was way less specific, and it used words like famous, and it just used long time ago. Context of a 5th grader is different than context of somebody in college. So I was like, wow, okay, that's actually pretty smart. Yeah. So you can use previous context, and you can actually do this with code too. So if I reset this, what shall we have it write? Let's have it write some code. We tried FizzBuzz yesterday.
FizzBuzz is kind of interesting.
Let's have it write FizzBuzz, because we can pick this apart pretty well. Just in JavaScript, right? Let's just start with that. There we go. So it wrote my logic using a loop. Actually using an if statement. And it basically described FizzBuzz to me. So technically, yeah, this would work, right? Used a for loop, used some if statements for the results, and it logs out the result. Yeah.
So let's get it to see if we can alter it to change the upper bound.
Can. Sure. What language do you want me to use here?
Use JavaScript. We need to change that one.
No, I'm saying, like, how would you want it to tell me to do that? What do you...
I don't know. I just don't want 100 to be the hard-coded value.
Okay. Let's do loop up to 200. Let's just see if it does that. If it understands what that means.
Yeah. A little typo in there. It didn't like it.
Well, let's see. No, typos. I've actually tried it with typos, intentionally displacing letters and things. It actually did pretty good. There you go. It's going to work, look.
Okay.
Oh, so it just gave me the...
it didn't know that it was FizzBuzz.
So hold on. Okay, so let's do update the previous... Let's see if it can do this. Previous code. I think it's still working.
You did say the previous example. Yeah.
It's actually still working.
No, make the upper bound. Yeah, maybe if that's working. Is it working on that?
Nah. Well, it seems to be still working on this. It seems to be stuck. So here's the issue with this, just in general, is that it
gets stuck.
It gets stuck. And it's because of the amount of people that are using it. That's why. They took it down for a while yesterday while we were messing with it. They got like a massive amount of users. See what it does this time. Oh, see you go. It changed it a little bit, look. So it says this time it just says do something with I, which is interesting.
To make the upper limit in FizzBuzz variable.
So hold on. So to do that, we need to take an input, right? So we need to think about that part of it.
Allow the user to input the upper bound.
Okay.
In FizzBuzz.
Actually, I'll fix my typo. Let's see what that does. So we haven't told it to create a user interface at all yet for this. Yeah. So let's just see if it actually understands like that it needs to create a user interface in order to, as we're saying, user input now. Yeah. I think it will. But here's the thing, right? If you just got this back and you change this like this, you still have to have some understanding of how to plug this back into this, right? There's still context here you have to understand. Yeah, I think maybe it's like... Oh, no, here we go.
Okay. It just didn't know that you're talking about FizzBuzz still. It lost its context.
Yeah, I think it lost its context. I think it lost the yeah. So hold on. Here's what we're gonna do. We'll refresh this.
What in the world is that mess that it put there?
I don't know.
Number prompt. Okay.
I don't know. We'll come back. Let me reset it. So hold on. Let's do write FizzBuzz. Let's be more specific this time. In JavaScript. With a let's say an HTML and CSS front end to accept user inputs for the upper limit.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Write FizzBuzz and JavaScript, HTML, CSS front end to accept user inputs for the upper limit. Let's see what it does. Good start.
Okay, so it's writing some HTML.
Writing some CSS.
Little body tag.
Some inline styling. Look. Got a button. We'll come back to what it's actually doing here in a second.
So it's got a button and an input. And it wrote a script tag.
It's grabbing the elements, look, too, to push them into the JavaScript.
And then it...
We'll go back and read and see what this does here in a second, see if this actually works.
So we have to push that into VS Code at this point to try it out.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can try it here, yeah.
There's a copy code button.
I can. Hold on. Let me...
We're testing it now, and I can VS Code, yeah.
See, I'll have to move this over in a second here.
Yeah.
Do a folder.
You should be able to just put it in there as it is, and then just right-click and run it.
Yep. I just need to...
According to chat here, chat boy.
It's a new folder. What am I going to call this? ChatGPT Fizz. Okay. It's, yeah. I think I've got this. Okay, let's do a new. Just call it index.
.html, yeah.
And then
just paste it in there.
Am I on here? Let's see.
Okay.
I don't know if my server's live on. I don't know if my thing's up to date here, but let's just we'll see if it is.
Right click and see if you can right click on the index HTML.
Hold on.
Yeah, all right, there he goes. All right, it ran.
Okay. So you just want to try it ran, look,
Yeah.
it ran an interface, let's just generate. Look at that.
Okay.
So it worked.
All right.
I mean, let's try 200, just see if that works.
We don't know.
Yep.
There it
I mean,
goes.
it did. I mean, the output isn't the nicest, but it worked.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10.
So it worked.
Yeah. Would it pass at Coder Foundry? No.
No, but from a technical standpoint, you've started off with something that kind of like it works, right? It's giving you it's giving you some styling. It's funny because it's weird because it says it's not opinionated about things, but it's added a sans serif font, and it centered it. So why did it do that? Where does that come from? Why did it choose the button that it chose? Why did it choose the font sizes that it chose?
Yeah.
It's clearly opinionated about some things.
Why is it using pixels and not rims?
I don't know. Well, we could change that. But then it styled it. Look, it gave it an H1, wrote a prompt, enter a number to generate. So it added an input, added a button, and then the results for the
It's not bad on the UL there. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's I don't know why they used the UL, but instead of a div. But unless it wrote LIs, let's see if it wrote LIs out there. That's how it did it. Yeah, it did use LIs in the output.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So it writes pretty good comments too. Look, it didn't comment the HTML, but it did comment the JavaScript.
Rich Schrader asked, "Can it center a div?" Well, let's find out.
Well, I mean, it did, didn't it? I mean, it did.
That's not a div. Let's see if it can center a div in a page. So let's just see.
How would I
test
that?
Because now we're testing it. Yeah. Just try again. We'll just do reset it. Just make sure it loses its complex.
Okay.
And
What am I
we'll just
asking
go in
it to
there.
do?
Horizontally and vertically center a div.
Okay.
With
that's
the
it?
text.
With,
a div with the text "Hello World."
Okay.
On a web page, I guess. On a web page.
Okay.
So Ridge Raider wants to know. We're testing this now. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what it does.
And then we'll paste that into our little sandbox.
We'll see what it does.
It's going to blow up now because we know that this is too hard for anybody.
It's going to run off and think about this one for like a while.
It's
going to be like, whoa, hold on a second.
It's like Tailwind, Bootstrap, Flexbox. What do I do?
Well, this is true because you can actually tell it to use whatever you need, whatever it comes up with here. Oh, is it actually going to give us code? I don't think it is. I think it's just going to give us a definition of how to do it. So hold on, we need to. Oh, it is. Here we go.
Wow.
It hasn't given us a content though, has it? Hold on, let's see. Wow, just writing a book on this. Okay, so it didn't. Let's see what it says.
It didn't really do it. I mean, like that can kind of work. So, like, if you type in div on a page with that CSS,
yeah,
it might work.
Right. Is that what we want to try here?
And then there's this other one that here's an example with. Here's an example how to use margin to center the div. It gave us 2 ways to do it.
Okay. Let's specify use flexbox.
Use flexbox. All right, let's see what it does.
Let's try again. Oh, again, sorry. I expected to try this, then not retry that. I don't think it finished. I think that's why.
So beginning programmer says we're doing it wrong, Kevin.
Why are we doing it wrong? There we go. Use flexbox. Look, so we're in flexbox.
Yeah, he says, I think these queries are weird. Ask it to make the page, then add the div with maybe some details, then keep adding incrementally. Going in with a mega query is bad in my experience.
Okay.
Ridge Raider said he had to go ask his manager how to do it.
That's true. So this kind of worked. I mean, it didn't give me the original content that I wanted, but that's okay.
Okay, so let's see what it did here. Let's see if it worked. So, like, I can tell you, but like, we'll try it out. So this gave us 2 CSS classes, which we have to infer that's what it's doing.
Which one? You want to try from the top?
Well,
this one?
No, use Flexbox.
You try the Flexbox
so you have
one?
a body tag and a div tag.
Okay.
So you need both of those. And then let's see if it can make it.
So hold on, let me go to.
Let me clear out your page.
Yeah.
Just delete it all.
I can use everything, but. And let's.
You can put your styles in that tag, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, how they did it there. And then there was a body tag too that it had.
Did it?
Yeah, it had 2 tags they gave us, so we'll use them both.
Hold on.
Up above it.
Oh, this one too? Oh, okay.
Well, that's the body, so it's centering the body on the page. Okay. And then the div is in that, so we'll see what it does.
Okay.
And then we'll just put in there.
Get my
body. There you go. Now write a div and say hello world. Say div hello world in there. And let's see what it does. Should work.
There we go.
There it goes. It centered a div.
There we go. It did, which you would expect it to using that code is pretty straightforward. You would think that's what it would do.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so you can I think for some things it kind of works. So let's say, let me go back to something we asked it for yesterday because I thought this was interesting.
Yeah.
Write an article about JavaScript.
Let versus var.
Yeah. Let's just do let over. Spell that right? Yeah, I did. Because this is one thing where I've seen it did make an error, but I've also seen where it'll actually rewrite stuff too, and it's actually learning at the same time. By the way, if you notice here, there are some thumbs up and thumbs down, so it's actually still learning, which is interesting. As people are coming in here and saying like it's adapting. It is adapting. Yeah.
Since I call Skynet first we're sitting and do this, next we're stealing nuclear codes. So, we haven't tried to hack anything with it yet. We could say, hack the thing.
Well, I saw some feedback talking about it having kind of sort of moral boundaries. So I don't want to overly test that, but
Nah, we don't either. No.
Let's see. The one I asked for yesterday, he actually gave me code examples too.
Yeah, let's see if he gives us a code example.
I don't think this is gonna give me This is very different than the one I asked for yesterday too. So a lot more text than the one I asked for yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe it's learned since yesterday.
Maybe. The JavaScript's program language is widely used on the web for creating interactive and dynamic websites. Okay. One of the key concepts is the concept of variable declarations, which allow developers to create variables that can be used to store and manipulate data. In JavaScript, there are two main ways to declare variables: let and var.
There's three.
So there's your first. But look how confident it is.
I know, yeah.
This comes back to that confidence. Like there are two main ways. It's not like it's having a guess. It's stating there are two. Yeah. I guess you could argue that const isn't a variable. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's making that argument subtly. I don't know.
Yeah, let's look at beginner programmer is very opinionated on this. Put his last comment up there before you read this.
Hold on. I got to go back to this.
I think it's
the last comment. This one.
Yeah, the last one. I think is funny. He's like really.
Xworks explain the difference between let and var.
Look at the dude. Like you're not a programmer, man. Look at how you're built. There's no way you're a programmer. You're not coding.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. There's many ways to put this stuff in here. That's kind of a thing, right? I get that. And you have to kind of be like, I don't know. It's supposed to use common language. So for me, it's like the only difference between your option and mine was just like I didn't tell it how many words. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
And again, this same writing prompt will give different results each time too. So yeah, so without going through this in detail, I'm trying to see if it tells you the same thing it told me that was wrong yesterday, because there was more than one thing that was wrong. So
it seems like it's repeating itself a lot, though.
It does a little bit of that. Here's what I noticed: the last paragraph, when you ask it to write an article, it always gives you this in conclusion paragraph.
Yeah.
This is going to be a sign that people are going to be looking out for in the future. They're going to notice, like, oh, hold on a minute, I see what's happened here. This is a ChatGPT answer, isn't it?
It did say, and let variables cannot be redeclared within the same block, while var variables cannot.
which is different than what it told me yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
I don't. So you do have to like.
Yeah. So enough to say that could you use some of the information that's in here and use it as a basis to write an article for this? Sure. Do you have to triple check every single word that it says?
Yes.
100%.
I don't think, and I do think people are going to do this. I think people are going to write a technical blog starting. They'll come out. They probably already out.
Oh, they're already out there.
And they're going to give it 25 writing prompts and then just post those directly to it. Yep. And like, it's going to be wrong 10% of the time in every article.
Yep. Yeah. So here's what we'll do. Look, here's what's going to happen. Give me 5 technical blog ideas. Then we're going to take one of these and actually have it write the thing. So, common pitfalls to avoid when implementing what? What do we want to put in here?
We have to insert the technology. So,
yeah.
We have to be more specific.
Yeah, so common pitfalls when implementing .NET?
C#.
Oh, C#?
C#, yeah.
Okay. Let's do 1,000-word article. To be a little bit on.
Yeah.
Common pitfalls to avoid when implementing C#. Let's see what we get. It's doing it's labeling them, look, too. Pitfall number 1. I like that. Interesting. Is it going to come up with another one, though? Is it going to have pitfall number 2? Because if it doesn't, it's going to be a bit weird, isn't it?
You put too many words in this thing. Now I got to read 1,000 words.
No. You read a little bit. I just want to see how much it can like. Oh, it is using like number 2.
Misusing the for each loop.
We'll read this one. I'm interested in this. Oh, it gives you code example too. So hold on. So pitfall number 2, misusing the for each loop. Another common pitfall for C# developers is misusing the for each loop. The for each loop is a convenient way to iterate over a collection of items. Okay, true. Such as an array or a list. However, there are some important things to keep in mind when using the for each loop. First, the for each loop is designed to be read-only.
Okay.
This means that you cannot modify the collection that you are iterating over with the for each loop. For example, the following code will generate an error. It's trying to make an assignment during the for each loop. That's not true, is it?
I don't know.
That's just not true, is it? You can make an assignment during a for each loop, right? You can assign. It's not read-only, right?
I'd have to get tested.
You could loop over something, right? You could loop over something, and you could change the value for everything that you loop over, right? You could read the value and then rewrite it, right? I'm not. So in here, so let's say we have a for each loop, and I'm looking in this example, right? For each in the numbers in this array. In this loop, could I rewrite these numbers in this array? Could I change them?
You can't. You can't. Like it's what it's saying is the collection in your numbers can't be changed.
Okay.
You might think you are, but you're not. Like this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
You can't modify this numbers.
Okay.
In here like you could with a for loop.
Okay.
And I think the reason is because it's keeping up with the counts and things like that.
Right. Okay.
Beforehand when it allocates it.
Okay. I guess because I stopped it scrolling too, by the way, it actually cut it off. It did finish the article. What was point 1? I'm interested in that too. Not understanding the difference between value and reference types.
So the bottom line is you'd have to read through this stuff to make sure that it's always accurate. Yeah.
And then here's the thing. You have to know whether it's accurate or not.
Well, you do. So you're going to have to learn how to code. Like, I'm just saying, like, you're just going to have to know how to do it.
This comes back to your point around, like, having to be the Penn and Teller in this situation.
You have
because
to be.
If you're not the Penn and Teller, if you're just the average Joe Schmo in the audience who doesn't understand the trick that's happening, you're going to be wowed by it.
Yeah. So let's talk about some things that it cannot do today, no matter how much we type in this thing.
I'm going to try.
Even if beginning programmers typing it in for us, it won't do this.
I'm going to try.
So, like,
tell me.
I think one of the problems it's going to have, first off, when we talk about making an application in general, like a whole application, which is a UI, HTML, it's the back-end code, whether that's C#, JavaScript.
Yep.
It's written on a specific framework. That could be Node, that could be ASP.NET. And then we have to create that solution, which it probably could generate something for us, and say we modify it. And then we need to publish it. It's not going to be able to publish it. And then the other thing that comes in that it lacks nuance is, like, in the environment that I'm in, the solution will change. Like, in other words, like, like I get the code out there and it kind of works. So, like, when you use Stack Overflow, you're bringing stuff in, you're cut and pasting it in, but then you have a whole context of what I'm trying to do. And it's never going to have that kind of context. I mean, could you get really good at typing it in enough to where it could do it? Here's the other thing. Let's say it generates an app for you, and let's say that it works, but then you show it off to upper management. Upper management comes back and says, I need you to make these 3 changes, but you don't know how to program. Okay, you're not a programmer at this point. You're going to have to get it to do it. It's kind of an application. And so you won't be able to, like, change your solution because you won't understand what it's doing. The second thing is when it's broken, how do you fix it? Like, when it does make a mistake, which it does quite often, what do you do if you're not a programmer?
You have to understand it. Yeah, that's the thing. You really have to be able to understand what it's producing at the end of it.
Yeah.
Because you could submit if you ask it to do FizzBuzz and it's like, and it gets kind of the algorithmic part right, or a version of the algorithmic part right, but you don't know how to implement it or do anything with it. It's like, it's useless. You still
and this thing's going to become self-aware right now, Kevin. You're going to do it.
Let's see.
That giant robot's going to come down the hallway here and start shooting up people. You know,
it makes me wonder what.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder what it thinks I'm asking. Like, what is it actually going to come up with? What is it actually going to tell me? It's really thinking about it. It's actually going to fail in a second. It's going to fail. And then I'm going to have to, there you go, I have to redo it. Look, this is just because there's a lot of people using it.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go. Oh, so you don't understand this. Can't do Skynet. Fictional artificial intelligence. What are you then? You're the same.
You are.
Look at this.
So NC17 here says, ask if it's worth building a bug tracker in 2023.
Oh.
So
let's see. Building a bug tracker in 2023. Let's see. It doesn't. Needs more information. I'll tell you what a bug tracker is. Bug tracker type of software. Okay. It depends on a number of factors. Like, I don't really know. So I'm just not going to answer. I mean, because this is like a non-answer, isn't it? The decision to build a bug tracker will depend on specific circumstances and goals of the development team.
Yeah, that's the things that you get in the meetings from the meeting guy. You know, the meeting guy. This is meeting guy right here answering this question. You know, he comes off confident. You know, well, that's going to depend on a number of factors.
Exactly, but it's such a non-answer.
It's a non-answer.
But hold on, I need an actual answer. I don't need you to talk around the actual answer.
Yeah.
What else?
We could ask it something like, "What project should I put on my portfolio?"
Let's try that.
Maybe we can get better at it.
We're going to have to be more specific about this. So we're going to have to say web developer portfolio. Ooh, okay. We can definitely evaluate the whole of this one. Okay. So as a web developer, you probably should showcase your skills and accomplishments in a way that is relevant to potential clients or employers. Okay. Some projects that you may want to consider adding to your portfolio include websites or web applications, generic, that you have built from scratch, including any custom features or functionality that you have implemented. Okay, I don't know what you would do with that, but sure. I mean, yes.
Tells you I should put a website on it. Thanks.
Yes.
Mr. Obvious, Captain Obvious.
Exactly. Examples of your design work. Wireframes, mockups, finished designs for websites or web applications. Sure, if you're going for design or front end, that could be useful. Case studies or documentation of your development process, including information about the technologies and tools you used and any challenges you faced and how you overcame them. I like that. I like that.
It's not bad.
Testimonials or feedback from clients or users of the websites or applications you have developed.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. Any relevant personal projects or open source contributions that demonstrate your web development skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's kind of generic in its answers, isn't it? It's not. It can't be specific.
Yeah. I love that sentence.
Which?
That was written by a lawyer. Remember, the projects you choose to include in your portfolio should be tailored to your specific goals and audience. It doesn't really tell you anything, you know.
No, I think a lot of this doesn't. It's non-specific, isn't it? I mean, this alone is just the most.
I feel like it's a lorem ipsum generator, and sometimes.
Yeah. See, this answer is just like the most generic answer ever, because this could be tic-tac-toe. I mean, this could be a web page that says "Hello World" on it. Like, you know what I mean? That's not very good advice to put on your portfolio, is it?
Yeah.
You built it from scratch. It's got a bunch of custom features. I made them. It's Hello World. Like, it's not a very good answer, is it?
It sounds like every British politician.
It sounds like every politician.
Every politician.
Every politician. Look at where you are in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
All right. My conclusion about ChatGPT is that I think it can help you with code suggestions, code improvement. I think it has a long way to go before it replaces developers.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't think it ever will. I mean, someone's saying that it could do it in decades. okay, if it's decades, let's say it's decades means more than 10 years. So like 20 years, should you learn coding right now if you're 20 years old and say you're going to be replaced in the next 20 years? I think that's a good safe bet, but I don't
Right.
think that'll
That's
ever
true.
get there. Like there's so much to this that once you start really digging into this problem, it becomes increasingly difficult to solve. Like, and that's why things like creativity, insight, and the other one that I wanted to go into is empathy, which is like an AI will never have empathy, where empathy is like you share the pain of someone else. And so like when you're working in a company, and you guys are working in a company and you're like vested in the company, you want to see it succeed. You have empathy to the plight of your coworkers, like in other words, like, hey, let's make this happen. And then you may do more or do extra or provide more insight because, the other thing is creativity is, or necessity is the other word that I'm looking for, is like necessity is the mother of invention. An AI will never have to do something.
Yeah, it has to be told. It has to be
Yeah,
fed, doesn't it?
it never like has a need for anything or anything like that. So like the need for it to build something will never come across its mind. You have to tell it. It doesn't have needs or wants or desires, and therefore those things that we undervalue in the way the human brain works, it's critical. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of people feel like you don't have those, but you do. You do. You just use those to make decisions. You just do every day, and then the need to do it is far outweighs sometimes more than the actual skill of doing something. You
Right.
invent things, you solve problems when you
Right.
have to. So I can remember, and I'm going to, true example is I'm not a plumber, but like my basement flooded one time because of this thing broke. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm standing in like calf deep water.
I
I
remember
had
that.
to fix it. The plumber's not coming. There's no one coming to the rescue, and I had to like fix it, and I did. I mean, I'm not saying that it was the best plumbing job ever, but I had to get water through that pipe and out of my basement because it was drowning everything. So
Yeah.
I fixed it. But so necessity is the mother of invention. An AI never has that need. It can never have a fear, a want, or a desire. So it'll never
Yeah.
invent things. Like it
Yeah. So
never
you
will.
you
Like
you
it.
you have to express your need to it, and then it can
Yeah.
give you something back. That's
Right.
how it kind of works. But
Yeah.
that requires somebody to express the need to it.
Right. And I look at this, our classic example, we talk about Skynet, we talk about the Terminator, and we always talk about like the robots taking over the world. But if you really look at, let's take Terminator 1, the movie, it's a classic example of AI.
Yeah.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger's character just marches through town shooting everything. It doesn't try to hide its intentions. It just does stuff, and like a smarter assassin would have like been more nuanced about how it went about killing the girl.
That's
It didn't. It
Terminator
just
2.
marched up. Yeah, exactly. Well, even then, it's still just marching through stuff. Like it leads it, and it always ends up destroying itself because it doesn't know that it should stop or should ever stop, or there's a reason why it can't stop. It's completely confident. I'm a bulletproof Terminator. No one can kill me. Yet it dies in the end because it doesn't have any of those things. So I think that's the problem. Like it'll just keep on writing code. It'll keep on putting it out there. All right. Hey, Bree. Thanks,
Right.
man. Read that out for us.
Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Let me. So Bree says, I'm enjoying working with Bootstrap 5. I heard someone say that it slows down your site, and doing a Chrome speed test, it will tell you the file is too big. Any thoughts?
I don't think so. I don't think that it slows down your site. I mean, you have to use CSS for something. I don't know what file is talking about. I guess it's talking about the CSS, the Bootstrap CSS file.
Maybe.
I mean, I just have to look at it and see.
Yeah, I've not come across that.
What if you just attached it through a CDN? Then the file wouldn't be big.
Right, but even if you did
If that's
attach
a
it,
problem.
it's not a massive file, is it?
Well, I mean, there's some of these lighthouse people say, if it's more than 500K, you're in trouble. And like,
Oh, yeah,
really?
yeah.
So like, I'm not in trouble, man. Like, but I don't think so. I mean, the question I would ask though is like when I hear this is like, what is our alternative? What are we going to do? I could write all the CS by hand and maybe save 200K or something like that because I'm only using the stuff that I want is something you could think about doing it. So if that's a big problem, and that's really the problem causing your site not to be fast. I don't
fast
think
is relative to this is the thing. We're talking milliseconds. It's like
milliseconds on this, just the CSS part. Typically you have a lot of other problems, maybe a bad algorithm in JavaScript's
gonna slow down way
slow, or there's a lot of things that goes into it be fast. So I don't think that I would not avoid Bootstrap because someone said it's going to slow down your site. That's not. I don't think that's a concern.
And there is this. There's this minified version.
That's right. You can do that too.
Up, right, and uses the minified version.
Yep.
This is also a problem I think that Tailwind tries to solve too, right? Because it builds builds out a custom CSS file. If you use the class, it puts it in. If you don't use it, it doesn't include it. Right. That is one of the good features of Tailwind. But ramping up to get Tailwind working is just like it's a lot more work. It's just a ton more work.
Here's the thing that's happening with Tailwind. So now that Tailwind's out, now you're starting to see component sites come out. Like, oh, here's my list of Tailwind components. And you're like, okay, that's Bootstrap. That's what Bootstrap been having, and they're more tested than yours.
This is what you've been complaining about, that it's
opinionated. I know, exactly, opinionated components. So like, well, but I want to write an accordion. I know, that's my point. We don't want to. So like, so I think all of these things, I really believe that whether you use Tailwind or Bootstrap, for speed-wise for most applications is irrelevant. I don't think that's a problem. Yeah. So you don't have 100% Lighthouse score. So what? But not everything can be a static website either. So like that's not usually the goal.
Right. I'd also say if you're building something for yourself too, just use the CDN. Like I understand that's a dependency, but like the CDN works, it's fast. If you're not building like an enterprise anything, like sure, if you are, then I'm sure there's ways to optimize for Bootstrap, right?
Minimize it, use the minimized stuff. So but if it's just for yourself, I wouldn't have an issue using the CDN. And the CDN does take a load off your site. So yes, it is a dependency if the CDN's down, but in general, the CDNs are spread all across the internet and people use them all the time and makes it quick.
Yep.
So I think it can work either way.
Yep, definitely. One last thing to put in ChatGPT. What do we want to put in before we go? Let's give it one last thing.
One last thing. We'll see. We'll take some comments here. Tell us what you want us to ask it, people.
Something about tacos. Is it gonna something that it can't be? Oh, I know. A good chicken taco
recipe.
Recipe.
CIPE. Something like that.
It does. Oh, I misspelled it anyway. It doesn't matter. It knows it anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
There we go.
Oh, it gave us a seasoning. It's a cumin, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder. Okay. It went corn tortilla. Okay, so it did do corn, not flour.
Okay, like yeah. Which
lettuce? Lettuce is good. Tomatoes, but the cheese, I'm done with the cheese, the salsa, and the sour cream, man. I mean,
we heat the oven to 400. Cut the chicken into small bite-sized pieces and place them in a bowl. Add the olive oil, taco seasoning, stir evenly. Bake 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. While the chicken is cooking, warm the tortillas in the oven or on a stove. Well, you do that at the very end. Your chicken will be very done by the time you're warming your tortillas, right? Tacos. Okay, so really enjoy it. Okay, cool.
So I think sour cream is a mistake for a true taco.
Hold on. In the style of
street style tacos, street food.
Okay. Let's do. See if that makes a difference. Same recipe, but smaller corn tortillas and tough tacos with additional ingredients. So okay.
There you go. Cilantro, lime wedges. There we go.
Now we're talking. Yeah. Now we're talking. Much better.
Carne asada
and carnitas. Okay. Cool. I like it. Yeah. I wonder if it's the new. This is the new.
I definitely think it's going to be used for recipes, but the problem is it doesn't give you. It gives you one recipe, and it's
but does it?
It's not necessarily.
Let's say,
I guess you could ask for 3.
I'm just gonna say you could ask for 3. Yeah. I'm gonna type it again. Actually, use my typo again, because why not? But I'm wondering if it's going to give me a different recipe.
Yeah.
Because when I asked it for previous writing prompts, it did give me different things every time, which is interesting. It's giving me the same recipe, hasn't it? It's literally exactly.
Yeah, I don't think those are very good.
This is exactly the same look.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think those are good. I'm just telling you, man. Abel's Grill here in Kernersville, North Carolina has he has the secret.
If I could,
what it is.
No. Or maybe. Oh, I wonder if we could do like a Chipotle. No, okay. We can ask for like specific like store recipes. Like that could be kind of interesting.
What's the recipe for Chick-fil-A nuggets?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if it would know that. Hold on.
Do you know the ingredients of Coke? Do you know?
I'm just wondering if it would.
Oh, that's a guarded secret, man.
Oh. Oh, look, it's going to give me a recipe. Look.
I wonder if that's it.
It's telling me how to make Coca-Cola. Is that weird? Like, hey,
you have solved it.
Maybe if somebody could go try this would be great. So a couple of sugars, some caffeine, citric acid, vanilla, caramel, lime, and lemon, and some water. If somebody wants to make this and send this my way, I'll give it a taste test on stream. You gotta boil this, look, over a medium heat. Interesting. Yeah, so anyway, ChatGPT, interesting stuff.
All right, so one question for the road. Someone wants to know what happened with the power outage in North Carolina. Crazy story.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about this the other
we had a student.
We had a student
that's in Morrow County, and then that's true. Someone, well, actually, it wasn't someone. It was a group of people in more than one location used a gun to shoot up some substations that took out power for 40,000 people or so.
Something like that. Making our state look great.
Yeah, so like they basically took a truck and rammed through the gate, it looked like, and then shot it up. And I guess the substation caught on fire and it cut out the power. Yeah, and
they had a bunch of speculation as to why, but they haven't actually. Yeah. We haven't come back around to the story yet, have they, to say exactly why? No. But the FBI are involved, so I did see that. So it's like, hopefully we find out eventually what that deal is. But man, our infrastructure is fragile. Man, that's what we took from it. Like it's fragile. We gotta be careful.
So it's just kind of crazy.
What would we do without the internet and our ChatGPT? I don't know what we'd be doing.
No, I don't know, man.
We'd be lost at this point. Which, by the way, speaking of losing ChatGPT, when it was down yesterday, I joined their Discord. There were people raging over the fact that it was down. They were I'm like, hold on a minute. It's been out for a week.
It's only been around for a week. I mean, like, there's no way that you have this built into you.
Like, you need it already? Like, it's been out for a week and you're raging that you can't use it today? Like, come on, people.
Here's what I will tell people. I'm going to give you some examples, and I think we're going to think of one. But I do think where ChatGPT has its largest potential isn't about you writing code with it. I don't think that's the biggest potential. I think it's about using that potential, creating an app that needs that. And so writing code around this and using it to do things is kind of cool. So I do think that you could have like an extension of Visual Studio that writes some more specific templates.
Yes.
And using ChatGPT to help you write better templates, or maybe more generic templates. Maybe they're focused on a certain industry, or they're focused on a certain, sector of the economy.
I think that's the way it's going. I think this gets built into other tools. It becomes part of an IDE, because we talked about this before too.
Yeah.
Visual Studio right now as an IDE has some of this kind of built in. It does scaffolding. It does like templates. It does like these cookie cutter things that it creates already for you.
Right, and then there's a templating, a T4 template that you can create things to extend Visual Studio to do certain things. I think this is the next iteration of that, where it's doing some more code generation. I do think there's maybe an abstraction layer between things that are done the same every single time. I mean, I think that is kind of like where the uses for it. Will it ever be able to generate an application from scratch? I don't think so.
Yeah, certainly not in this iteration, not the way as it is now.
No.
You could iterate over something to get closer, to building out a simple application, but it could never do, like we talked about, it could never do integrations with web and with hosting and with APIs and with all of these other things that are like third party, like pulling into it. It could never do that. It can't do that.
You got to do.
That's the job of a developer. That's what a developer does.
A team of people, and so like it could solve small things that are well defined. Maybe write a specific algorithm that does something, but then you've got to integrate the algorithm into it, and then you also have to check it to begin with to see if they're even right.
Writing the code is just one part. It's
just one thing. It's
just one little bit of the whole sort of bundle of being a
and
developer.
I do think the people that are out there saying that, hey, this is going to replace our job, don't learn to code. I'm not insulting anyone if you're saying that. I'm just saying that become more educated about like what it really means. What is a developer really doing? Like there's a lot of things that it's really doing. And saying that you can replace it by answering in a bunch of prompts and it does generate code. I just don't think you can build Twitter or Facebook or Google with ChatGPT, like only. Like just imagine if that's the tool you had, that's all you had, and you had to use what it gave you. I think your product fails every time.
Yeah.
It's going to take creativity.
I don't think you wouldn't get to a point where you could cobble all of these things together. Yeah, you couldn't. You couldn't. It could solve an individual problem of whatever that individual like encoding problem is or something. Like encode videos isn't like, okay, I can do that. But then you've got to implement that into a bigger application. It's like an application, something like Twitter, solves 1,000 problems.
Right. And it's way more complex than people
ChatGPT doesn't understand the other 999 problems that it's trying to integrate with. It only understands the one you're asking it to do.
Yeah. And the 10,000 frameworks that you're using, maybe they're using a certain framework for real-time communication, maybe singular websites, whatever they're doing. This part's written in JavaScript, this part's in something else, and using GraphQL for this. And like, it's just a lot of things that goes into an app that you just can't solve with ChatGPT. That's why when people say it's going to replace developers, I think it's the press looking at this and like, wow, that generated us some code.
Well, because it looks like magic.
Does it work? I mean, like, Penn and Teller is looking at that and going, that's not a good trick. I mean, Yeah. So I think that's my ultimate thing on it. Now, can it get there over 10 years? Will it improve? Yeah, but the problem is the things that we're doing is getting more complex as we go. So it's always going to be in this catch-up game because the AI has to be trained, and it has to be trained. If you ask it today, what's the current version of .NET? It's not going to tell you that.
That's the thing. It actually isn't magic. It's just it's been trained. So it might look like magic. It might appear to be smart, but it's not smart and it's not magic.
You're right. Exactly.
It is trained. It is trained on a set of information. And can it keep learning? Sure. But even this one, that must be a problem for them because they've trained it through data through 2021, and it's like while it knows some things past then, it doesn't know everything past then. So I'm guessing the training part of it must take a while because we're talking about something that was that's at least a year. It's probably 18 months because they say 2021. We're in the end of 2022, so it took at minimum a year for them to get to the point where they released it. So it's there's some issues there. It's not ever learning.
You can look at like video game AIs, when you're shooting monsters with a gun, they always train in front of your gun, no matter what they do, they just run straight at you. And like, it doesn't matter which one you're playing. And it's just like, that's what the Terminator does in the movies. He just marches straight forward, I'm bulletproof. And he's not. He ends up getting boiled in a pit of lava, So he just ends up dying.
One last thing, what do you think about this? If you're a new hire, you can copy the code and ask it to explain what's going on so you can focus on implementing the right solution instead of learning every intern's spaghetti code.
Well, the problem is that when you get on a job, it is spaghetti code. It always is. I mean, like, everyone like complains about that, but that's the thing. Software projects grow over time, and you implement solutions on top of solutions on top of solutions. So you have to understand what they're doing. Like, and that takes a coder. That's what coders do. Like, read the code, tell me what it's doing. Why did you do this? Like, what are we using for database access? So GPT-3, I only know about Dapper. Well, we don't use Dapper here. We use something else. Like, okay, what else are you? So there's a lot of nuance into this that I don't think an AI can ever really get to. But it can help you. Spoilers.
Yeah, you just spoiled Terminator for everybody. Sorry.
Oh yeah, exactly. 30 years, 50 years ago. It made in 82 or something?
Too soon. It's always too soon. There's always somebody who hasn't seen it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Terminator dies. The Terminator dies.
Man. We won't talk about Star Wars. You don't want to know who Luke's dad is, man. It's like really mind-blowing. Like, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Well, I can until Lucasfilm changes it. They're like, yeah, we didn't like that whole Darth Vader plot.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
okay, well, let's get out of here. We've talked enough GPT-3. Everybody go play with it.
Go play with it. Hope
go play with it.
Learn something today.
Yeah, so it's over at chat.openapi.com. Go give it some stuff. Go put them in Discord. I want to see what people do. I'm interested.
Yeah, if you come up with some questions.
Yeah.
Find
an interesting implementation for it or something fun from it. Go post it in Discord. If you're not on our Discord, you can go join it. It's in the description down below. Maybe I'll start a ChatGPT channel over there.
Yeah. So, and then beginner programmer, follow us. We'd like to know kind of what you're doing with it, because it sounds like you've been messing with it quite a bit. So, we'd like to want you to know we're calling you out in a good way. We'd like to
in a good way. Yeah. We want to know what you're doing.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah, we want to know what you're doing with it, so we can always learn too.
Yep, definitely.
All right. See you guys later. Keep coding.
See you guys later.